Neil deGrasse Tyson pointed out something interesting. He pointed out that there's a vastly disproportionate number of Jews who won Nobel Prizes over Muslims, despite the fact that there's a tiny number of Jews and a massive number of Muslims. Why is this the case? I'm going to discuss what I think are the reasons for this. Let's get into it.
Understanding of that universe. And that absence of Muslim presence in the frontier of science persists to this day. Take a look at the Nobel Prize from 1900 to 2010. I can do this for the Jews, for example. How many Jews in the world? There's like 15 million tops, 15 million out of 7 billion people. These are the numbers of Jews who have won the Nobel Prize in the sciences. 25% of the Nobel Prizes. We have a Jewish person in the audience. Congratulations. Okay, fine. Okay. This is rightly something to be extraordinarily proud of. The traditions of Jews in the 20th century is one of education and scholarship. In earlier centuries, it was one of very strict sort of study of the Torah. Did not involve the natural world. This was a later emergence of the Jewish culture to exhibit this. Let's look at the numbers for Islam. So these are Jews. There are 15 million Jews, 25% of the Nobel Prizes. There is 1.3 billion Muslims in the world. These are the numbers. 2.5. Okay, I'll give you 3 if you really want to include economics as a full number there, okay? If you got to give it a full number, okay. Now, for me, by the way, you can analyze this in any number of ways. There are 50 times the number of Nobel Prizes, 1/80th the population. There's 4,000 times the impact. I lose sleep at night with the question, how many secrets of the universe lay undiscovered because 1.3 billion people who in an ancestral time would have participated in this enterprise and are now not. That's what I think of as a scientist. Whole populations. By the way, there are other populations that never contributed. I'm not going to them and blaming them. I'm talking about a population that already did contribute. It's in the cultural heritage already. All we're asking is to resurrect it. It has not happened.
Okay, so let's just start with the facts. Jewish Nobel laureates are vastly overrepresented relative to population size compared to Muslims. People like Muhammad Hijab will argue this is racist and stupid because there are biases in who they award Nobel Prizes to. I'll start by giving them this point and saying that Nobel Prizes aren't completely neutral. Nobel Prize counts do not measure all scientific output or intellectual achievement. They measure recognition in specific fields and contexts that favor certain research and institutional structures. That means Nobel Prizes are not a perfect yardstick for society's progress. But here's where the Dawa guys get it wrong. According to jinfo.org, even among Westerners, Jews account for roughly 22 to 25% of all Nobel Prize laureates, 36% in the US. Across the scientific Nobel categories, such as physics, chemistry, medicine, economics, Jews consistently have a share far above the population worldwide and within Western populations as well. Yet, they're like 0.2% of the global population. So there's something here. They're outperforming other Westerners by magnitudes of numbers. Why is this the case? My guess is it has to do with the values and culture. Jewish communities historically emphasized literacy. Everyone had to read, argumentation, Talmudic debate, and scholarship was seen as a respected status. To be blunt, there's no culture of jihad and martyrdom in Judaism. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, this was the case with Muslims as well, the so-called golden age that they never stopped talking about. So the potential is there. What I want to focus on here is how Islam is a limiting factor in the progress of so many communities. Jews are not superior to Muslims, but they might have some better values in this regard, which I would love for Muslims to have more of. And this is what we're going to talk about: a culture of science and growth that benefits society. Now we get to the interesting part: how the dogma of Islam can limit progress.
A sea of tents for students from the poorest of backgrounds.
One of the students here, he has a makeshift tent. He's revising his lesson. He's invited us to come inside.
أن الله يولج الليل في النهار ويولج النهار في الليل وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري لأجل مسمى وأن الله بما تعملون خبير.
As you can imagine, people come here with like little to no money, sincerely for the sake of learning, with absolutely no possessions apart from like the little items you find in their tents.
This is an example of how the culture and values and teachings of Islam harm a society. These guys spend all their time reading and memorizing Quran. How does this improve their life? How does this improve their society? I'm all for art and poetry when it comes after basic sustenance is met. But when 58% of the population experiences multi-dimensional poverty, that isn't the time for memorizing Quran and poetry. Data shows women have it even worse. An estimated 95% of children cannot read and understand a simple age-appropriate text by age 10 in Mauritania. I think this video beautifully makes the point for me.
We're just walking back to the masjid. It's almost Maghrib time. And this young 15-year-old boy, a Mauritanian boy, just walks past, mashallah, dressed in his traditional dara'a. And the sheikh asked him, what have you memorized? And he just casually dropped that he has memorized over 6 volumes of classical poetry, which is over 2,000 lines of poetry. اسمك أحمد؟ ممكن تقرأ علينا بعض الأبيات من التي حفظتها؟
بسم الله. قال كليني لهم يا أميمة ناصبي وليل أقاسيه بطيء الكواكب تطاول حتى قلت ليس بمنقض وليس الذي يرعى النجوم بآئبي وصدر أراح الليل عازب همه تضاعف فيه الحزن من كل جانب.
This young boy went on for another 2 to 3 minutes of uninterrupted poetry recitation. I couldn't stop him.
تقد السلوقية المضاعفة نسجه وتوقد بالصفاح نار الحباحب.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Allahu Akbar. Literally, a young 15-year-old boy just dropping poetry like that off the top of his head with no preparation, just being put on the spot like that. Tabarakallah, MashaAllah.
The child was a prodigy by every measure.
Instead of doing this, if they spent the time learning practical skills, anything from carpentry to meal prep to engineering to science, medicine, wouldn't this raise the quality of life for all of them? But wait till you see what happens next.
But as we traveled deeper through Mauritania, we discovered he wasn't alone. From a young age, children across Mauritania begin their memorization journey on traditional wooden boards known as the lawh. I wanted to see the process for myself, so we traveled to another desert village named Taysir to sit with some of the kids who are memorizing the Quran with this system. I just needed one of them to show me how it worked. That's when this young boy, Muhammad Salim, stepped in to help.
Surprisingly, he speaks English. Tabarakallah, he shocked me, but he's also learned English as well.
This is the samra.
Samra?
Yes, it's made of the burning wood. Fahm.
Fahm, coal. So it's made from coal?
Yes. You put this like that. This is the pen that we use.
After writing the page on the wooden board, students will recite the lesson hundreds of times to themselves until it's fully memorized.
You're reading every single day for at least like 8 hours.
Yes.
Probably more.
Probably
just
12.
Reciting up to 12 hours. Reciting.
Only once they've mastered it and received permission from their teacher are they allowed to wash off the lesson.
Funnily enough, you want to know why they use wood and not paper for the Quran? Let's hear.
Here under this tent, Muhammad teaches the Quran to the whole village. And indeed, there are tablets on which the children write everything of the Quran every day. They are wooden tablets, and there he teaches all the children the verses of the Quran.
the oldest laptop. That's the no untouchable.
I
This
cannot.
is something untouchable. Because I'm a Muslim, I can touch, I can read, I can write on this.
But why on these and not on paper?
No, because we use in Mauritania, we used to do this, to write on this stuff like this. So paper, the goats can arrive and eat it, but this one is protected.
That's right. The goats eat it. Aisha wasn't kidding after all. Good things Muslims came up with a goat-proof way to protect the Quran. Started 1400 years ago. You see? The Quran does predict scientific miracles. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe. We got many more interesting videos on the topic of Islam coming up. I actually interviewed 2 young men from West Africa, and what they told me was very much in line with what we see in these clips above. If you want to hear their interview, I'll link it below, as it was really eye-opening to hear just how these young men struggled in this society and how the dogma harmed them. It's not just me saying this. A journal paper published in 2018 suggests that religiosity negatively impacts attitudes towards science and science knowledge. They studied the data and found this to be true, sadly. Here's more proof of the problem from someone fighting on the ground for science. Professor Pervez Hoodboy is a Pakistani nuclear physicist who is known for fighting for science and literacy in Pakistan, a society where religion is pervasive and undermines progress consistently. 13 years ago, he publicly debated Hamza Sordis on religion and rationality. He's been fighting for science ever since. He's written numerous books and articles on science and society. In his article, which I loved, called Trust Me, I'm a Scientist, he makes the argument that there's no such thing as Islamic science. Science is science. Religious dogma impedes scientific inquiry, and we can't let that happen. He argues it's not about trusting scientists versus trusting Islam. It's about looking at the evidence. He writes, in modern times, every form of intellectual endeavor in Islam stands in poor health. Science, in particular, is almost nowhere to be seen. He talks about how clocks were banned in 16th century Turkey, the printing press condemned, even loudspeakers disallowed. Today, blood transfusions and organ transplants are disregarded because of Muslim Orthodox beliefs. Many Muslims don't have problems with science, but alas, others do. On YouTube, you have people like the fraud Subur Ahmed who continue to spout claims that evolution is false with no evidence, wildly flailing, trying to poke holes and create doubt, without providing a more coherent explanation of what we see in the world. Many Muslim speakers like him promote a very anti-science worldview. Hoodboy continues to say that when he wrote the article, data showed that half of Arab women can't read or write. The Muslim world is in disarray and far behind the rest of the world. Dogma influences culture, which influences human societies. While not a precise instrument to measure, this is why Jews have won so many Nobel Prizes and Muslims have not. Even in Canada, many of my relatives and former friends make their kids memorize Quran instead of doing something more useful with that time. They waste hours of productive time memorizing Muhammad's terrible words. The potential is there among Muslims, but we need to get rid of that awful thing called Islam and its influence. On that, I end. If you love what we're doing, trying to spread the message of peace, love, and progress, subscribe. If you're new here and like the video, leave a thumbs up. Join our Patreon if you want to join the cause and help us to do even more. Leave Islam behind. Life is better and more beautiful without it.